Okay, so we've got these walls roughed out on the upper level, and I've started to extend them up into the roof. So I'll just extend these walls there that are part of the dumbwaiter, and so I missed the roof there, so I'll just do that. Attach top base, select the wall, and then I actually want these walls to start on the ground floor, because I suppose I'll keep that dumbwaiter. And so remember, in properties you can always change the base constraint if you realise that something like a wall needs to start on a different level. So at the moment it's beginning on level 1, but I can change that to ground floor, and it will take it down but keep the top there attached to the roof. And now that gives me a guide when I go to my ground floor plan as to where I should draw this next wall. Okay, so even though this doesn't line up exactly with my ground floor plan, I would just keep the walls the way I've got them. Oh, well then, don't draw them in. But it can just show you how drawings done by hand traditionally in 2D, even though this might have been done with a computer, it was definitely done 2D, the one we're tracing, they often won't line up because they're separate drawings. But when you model something in 3D with a program like Revit, then you do have that coordination between views. So don't worry if you notice little inconsistencies like this. It's usually the base image that's wrong. Because you can see here it's definitely tracing over that one, but the bottom obviously is out a little bit. So like I was saying, I'll let you work out the rest of the walls on those levels. I will give you one little pointer for the next bit. We've got the balcony wall here, and I think I'll keep that floor thickness at 150. That's usually about the minimum you can make an upper level floor, because if you think about the floor structure, you'll have floor joists inside there, and then lining on the top and the bottom. So we've got floor lining, probably particle board here, and then a ceiling lining on the bottom, which is probably just plasterboard, and or some sort of panel. In older buildings it's some sort of vibro type product quite often. And so the floor joists will usually be at least 150, but we can say here it's not spanning all that much, so there might be a little bit less than 150, which gives us room for the floor lining. So just want to think about that before you go too far with the next part, and make sure you've got enough thickness. So 150, I'm going to say for this building that's okay, because it doesn't span very much there. We've got an interesting detail, so we'll try and get that detail in there, where you can see the bulkhead there, and then he's actually got the floor structure there exposed. So you can see there the joist, and then the floor, that would be the underside of the floor lining there. So he's really cutting it back to the minimum, but that's a good design feature. And so we've got this recessed lighting here as well, which is a nice thing. But again, that would probably altogether be about 150, we'll say. And we need to know that so that then we can bring the floor down, the walls down to match the floor. So I just wanted to show you that before I move on to doors and windows. If I select that wall and then change the base offset here to -150, it will bring it down, bring the bottom edge down so that it now sits in line with the bottom of the floor. But notice it's also brought the top down. Okay, because the unconnected height is 1000, it's measuring that from the bottom of the wall. So I have to change that unconnected height to 1150. So it's 1000 plus the 150, I've just moved it down. And now you can see there, it matches this other wall.
Is the 150 base offset?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, -150, yep.
Oh, minus.
Yeah, yeah, you don't want it going up. Yeah. And that's a nice little detail. If I can do my balconies like that, I do. The only time I don't is if I want them glazed, and then I'll come up with a different detail, but even then I'll try and put the balustrades around the edge of the floor rather than having the floor edge exposed. Okay, so I'll do the same thing here. So I'll just select that, and then again base offset minus 150, and then add that 150 to the unconnected height, so 1150. Yeah, the height for both is 1150, yeah. And so then the next wall, I don't need to change the height because it's getting its height by being attached to the roof. So all I need to do with that one is make the base offset there minus 150. And the same with the one over here. Oops, not there, sorry. Base offset, not top offset. And then this little wall here needs to go up to level 1. Now, notice how this wall on the side of the dumbwaiter goes up into that other wall now, because I've brought this wall down minus 150. This wall goes up to where this wall used to finish, right up to level 1. So that wall, I can make the top offset minus 150, so they don't overlap. It's only a little thing, but it's just good to keep it tidy if you can. And we'll check that detail. I wouldn't be surprised if that wall actually comes forward to line up with this, but I'll show you how to do that in the ceiling plan later. So, okay, so then one very last thing before we go into doors and windows. You might notice this come up with a lot of the walls when they're, when you know they're in line. So in this case, I know that these are in line because I've drawn them that way, but I've still got a line between them, and I don't want that. I want to have this as a seamless join. So you can try using the join tool, join geometry on the modify tab. So that join button there, and then I'll choose this wall, and then the one above, and it will just clean up any joints like that. So I've got still this little line here, and I can do the same thing choosing that end wall now, and then again the wall above. Just have to use a different view to get it. Doesn't want to do it. It will eventually. Okay, it's because it's not in line. So there we go, let's fix that up. But base offset is minus 150. Base offset minus 150. And then unconnected height, so no, minus 150. Base offset, that's, yeah. So I thought while we're at it, we could have a quick look at the final thing with the walls there. And that's the wall join tool right next to the join button. I might just show you it in plan. It's optional, you don't have to do this, but it's just interesting. That wall isn't connecting properly because this one here, this is in the plan view, so in my ground floor plan. Yeah. So when you select the walls, you'll see how they're joining, and this one you can see extends all the way across, when I actually want this one here to extend down to the end. And so you can change that with the wall joins tool, the one next to join. And then you just need to click onto the corner where any walls join. And then you can click the next button to choose different joining options. Like I said, it's optional, but it can be a good thing to try. And so I'll have a look back in that view now. And that's fixed it. Oh, they're simply because your walls are out of they're not perfectly lined up, so you'll need to line those up in plan. So you just need to use a line or something. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I will. Yeah. Yeah, well, I'll get on today, I'd say. We don't do the windows, which I'm going to do now. Yeah, so wall joins up here. So like I said, it's optional, but it's a nice thing to try, and yeah, all those little details just make things look better. But like I said, the main thing I want to focus on is the doors and windows. So I'll start with doors, and if you've got any little issues like that with your walls, don't worry too much, I can come and have a look at them in a minute anyway. But then doors and windows are really a different thing again, and now here, let's just, sorry, just fix that. Okay, so looking at the view with the plan, we've got a door here that's basically the full width of that opening. So before I even place a door, I'm just going to measure that, just so I know what I'm working with. Right, so it's 964.8, and this is where, if I was doing this as a project on my own and I was actually going to build in here, I would have rounded that off to a more rational number, like 950 or something like that. But 964, we can work with, 964.8. So let's say 965. Okay, so then if you don't remember, you have the door tool on the architecture tab, and if you click on the down arrow in properties at the top of the panel there, you'll see the doors that you have already loaded. Now this is a family called M single flush, which is, M stands for metric, but it's basically a door set up to American graphics standards. They don't show things like door jambs in their floor plans, generally, which is a bit off-putting, really, because it's a good thing to be able to see them. Now, before I even place this door, I want to see the door jamb in plan, so again, I know what I'm working with. And so remember, we've set the view to wireframe already, but now that I've got some walls there, the grey is hiding the door, essentially, where I want to see it. So another option you can set there is fine down on the view control bar. So at the moment it's on coarse. You've got coarse, medium and fine. If you go to fine, it'll make the walls see-through. So that can be helpful. And so you can see there we do have a door jamb just here. So I'm going to go to load family. If that has disappeared, just make sure you click on the door button again and that'll bring it back. Click load family, and then I'll just go to the regular doors folder. So this is just in the default library, we don't need to go to the extended one. And there should be an Australian door here. So we've got single flush, and then there is, oh here we are, single timber framed Oz. So it's okay. And I'll show you if we double click to open that. So single timber frame Oz, obviously is one set up for Australia. So at least it shows door jambs, but notice it's got all of that framing in there, and it includes an architrave as well. So if you need that, that's a good one to know, but it's still probably too much. So I'm going to go back to load family. And this time I will go to the extended library. So in, if you've got the shortcut there, you can just go straight to Revit library. Otherwise you'll need to browse to a P drive, interior design, Revit library, and then doors. And so I've made a door family there that might be better still. So it's the one that just looks like a rectangle. If you've got the thumbnails up, it's called CC Single Flush No Architrave. So it should be, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9th in the list. And you should be able to just double click on that. And then if you hover there, you'll see it will go over the top, and graphically it's a bit simpler than the other one. And I think the size that will come in initially is pretty good. So it's 915 by 2134, but that's including the, that's just the door, and then we've got the door jamb added to that. Yep. Yep. Oh, so just select it. Or, so you've got to have a door there. You've got to have a wall there, I mean. So you've got to have a wall over that space for the door to go into. So you can just stretch, yeah, the one you've got already. Okay, so we'll go to the next door in the bathroom. Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's typical for side layout. Actually, a lot of buildings done back in that era. Shows you how much you can push it. In a pub I did once, they had the door to the bathroom was 600 wide. That wide.
Hopefully not too...
Yeah, well, it was a pub that had been there for 100 years. Not far from here, actually.
And they had to keep it?
No, they put a new door in. They kept that door, and it was actually the quick way. Everyone still used it because it was closer to the bar, but then they put another bigger one further around. So, but yeah, look, it had worked for, 100 years or so. But yeah, people were smaller back then, I think, yeah. So anyhow, so this one's 825, which is still, that's way bigger than you can go down to 720 still. So back to the door tool. And you can see then that we have different sizes loaded in. And just by clicking on that panel there, you can see those and choose, I think the 813 by 2134 is probably about right. That's a bit big. So 762. Yeah, maybe a little bit. Okay, so we'll go in between those. And so if you just go to edit type, duplicate, and you can put in a new size. So we'll say, well, it's a bit of a funny one. Let's just say 800. And it's not really a standard size, but we'll just do that. And so after you give your name, don't forget you have to change the width property down below. So I'm just going to go for 800, I think. And if it's a little bit bigger than what's shown on the drawing, I'll live with it. So that's just to show you how easy it is to make different sizes from existing families that you load.
You didn't change the button, did you?
No. So I think for now I'll put in a door here just to show you with that storeroom as well. Okay, so you've got the dumb waiter on the extending down to the lower level. So if you're going to keep that, what I'd highly recommend is that you do it the way I've done it, with those walls drawn in first for that dumb waiter, and get it to connect properly to the lower level. Then draw a new wall in from that corner across to the right. Okay, because we need a wall there. Again, at first I'll just draw it like this, even though I might change it afterwards. So this wall here, I'm going to draw again from that corner all the way to the end. Okay, so remember we need to have a door to place the wall, so a wall to place the door. Okay, so worry about, well, I'll put the other one in quickly now. Okay, so that one might just fit, but I might go for the next size down. Yeah. So, it's an easy step to miss because you can't see the wall there in plan. You sometimes forget to draw it in, but of course you need the wall there above the door. So now going into my 3D view, again, because we've got the wall there, you can see next to the door. I can select that, attach and choose the roof, and then you'll see the little bit of the wall that goes above the door, which normally would be a lot more, but in this case is pretty tiny. And these other bits I can fix up as we go. So, okay, so that's when you have families that are in the library ready for you to choose. And for things like your bathroom fittings, you can easily choose them from the library. I don't know what... Oh, that's a bath. Okay. God, that's an odd way of showing a bath. I suppose it's correct in a way because you've got a drain there, but I've never seen a bath drawn like that in my life, and I've seen thousands of drawings. So, anyhow, at least we know what it is. So, I just should have pointed that out. So, we've been using the door tool to place these other components. You can just click onto component, and then load family. And the default library is okay, but again, if you go to the library, we have, when you're in here, it has a lot more. And if I go to plumbing fixtures there, then we have the toilet. So watch out for the 2D versions. So a lot of families will have a 2D version and a 3D version. Some of them only have a 2D version. So this sink, for example, you might really want that sink, but if you do use it, make sure you realise that there isn't a 3D version of that one. Now there's one that's very close. This one here is very close, but it's not exactly the same. So just make sure you notice that when it says 2D in the name, you won't see them in your 3D views, which means you won't see them in your sections either. Yeah, that's right, exactly. But quite often, especially for small bathrooms, you're not going to show them in rendering, and if you're not going to see it in a section, then it's and they'll make the file smaller if you use the 2D one. So they're not a bad thing, but just make sure you realise which ones are the 2D ones. So this one here's 3D, just because I probably want to show it in a section. But then this toilet that's been used in reality is maybe a bit smaller. And again, toilets from that era were often much smaller than they became later after this, so that's not going to fit. So back to low family, and let's keep looking through. I know there's one in here that will be much better.
Is it under plumbing?
Yeah, plumbing fixtures, yeah. Now I've forgotten the name of the one I use all the time. Doesn't seem to be here. But, I mean, the European ones are okay. They're a little bit big. And you'll find that you can, if you go through the catalogues, you can definitely get much smaller WCs than previously. Here we go. This is it. So this one's pretty good. So this is in the WCs and urinals folder. So the WC with System 5, if you want the system. You can put them in the wall. Yeah, in plumbing fixtures. And then you'll see that folder. Yeah. So it's a little bit bigger than what's shown there, but still much smaller than the second last one there. Yeah. So this one does have a system. So you could change it to one that has the system concealed in the wall. And if you don't know, you can get systems that small that'll fit into a 100mm wall easily. It's amazing. They're like a pipe. They look like a pipe, really, and they do the same job as a full system. And so they're always a good option with a new project, but this is an existing building, and you might not want to do that. You've got to be on component. So just say no, and then back onto the architecture tab, and then click component. then load family and everywhere. Oh, space. Yeah, so space to rotate if you miss that. And you can always select afterwards and then press space as well. So you'll find things like showers, again in plumbing fixtures. And in the default library, they're in the 2D folder. It's just a 2D shower stall. If you go to the full Revit library, then they have a 3D shower stall. It's just called M shower stall. And you've done it. Okay, so they've got an 800. God, that's ridiculous. 700 by 700. I was unfortunately at a, I suppose you could say it was a hotel. It was probably the worst hotel I've ever stayed in. It was more like a, you know, one of those places where you rent the building in the country, and they had a 900 by 700, I think it was. The worst shower I've ever been in. It was just so narrow. So I'll never do anything less than, 800 wide if you have to, I suppose. But 900 is, I think 900 is really the minimum, and I like it. I've done a lot that are bigger than even that. So you can see this one is probably bigger than 900, even though, again, we don't know if our drawing is right or not. So, so again here, the biggest one in that list is 900 by 900. We can always go edit type and duplicate and put in a larger size. So probably, 1100 by, what's 1100 by 1100? So after you duplicate to give it a new name, then you've got to find the property that has to change.
Can you do that, like, say with families that are like around for us? Like, if we want to change
Not always, no.
only if it lets you edit.
That's right, yeah. It all depends on how it's been made. So, okay, so I've made that a bit too big, but I can easily go back to edit type now and try in some different sizes. So I'll make that, I'll go to rename, have a new name, and we'll make it 1100 by 900. In fact, sorry, 1050. And try those values. Well, 1050 by, it's a bit bigger, but I'll go with that because I think the way it's shown in the drawing is a bit large anyway. So 1050 by 900 is what I've done. And then the bath.
Yeah, my bath.
Up to you what you want to do. You probably could, yeah. I mean, for a house like this, it's probably nice if they can be separate. Because it's a bit of a designer house. Yeah, oh yeah, it's always much preferred if you can have them as separate things. By clients will pay a premium for that, or they.
What's that for bath?
Yeah.
Pay a premium for it to get. I prefer it.
Yeah, well, I suppose you get more room in the bathroom if you do that.
I don't like stepping into the shower like that. Especially when like older relatives to say.
Yeah.
Like my grandparents.
Yeah, well, see, I've had quite a few clients specify it as a requirement that they have to be separate. So, yeah, but then I've seen those new ones. I've actually only ever seen them in England. They had the like a round end on the bath, and yeah. So they don't have them here for some reason. But I haven't seen them here. They might, you probably can buy them, but yeah, saw them everywhere. I think. Yeah. So here we'll just get any old bath. Oh, there we go. That's not it actually, but any bath really will do to get started. And again, you can easily change the size as you go along. So I'll just put it in roughly the right size, and I'll let you fine tune it if you want to. Alrighty. So and then the vanities, I'll let you work that out. But so you can see things like plumbing fixtures and so. Yeah.
How do you rotate the bath? Like if you wanted to put it on its side and you don't.
Oh, space. Yep. So maybe I'll quickly show you the kitchen families as well, because they're pretty handy. You're going to need to model in a lot of the surrounding things anyway. So this wall here is continuing on from the dumbwaiter, and so a good way of doing that would be to have the height just set to level 1, and then if you remember, we've got a wall above that that's extending down 150, and I probably didn't need to bring that down actually, I've made work for myself, but just so you can see, I could make the top offset minus 150 and then draw the wall coming down from there. That's just to give me something to work against, and I'll show you then the window can go in there for the hatch coming from the kitchen. Yeah. We'll change it to something else because we'll do the materials before long, but yeah, just for now. So the kitchen family. So they're really good. If you go to component and then load family, they're in the casework folder. And so you'll have sometimes bathroom cabinets here as well, but here it's just got base cabinets, and these are mostly kitchen cabinets. So you can choose any of those really, but if we have a look at some of the photos, we might be able to pick up. It's got the old Seidler, or not Seidler, but the old style cooker. Oh, right, the glass, yeah.
Oh, you talking about the bathroom?
The kitchen. So yeah, so that's the old-fashioned. I mean, it's it's an old place. So we've got a stove there, and unfortunately can't see the kitchen. Maybe some of the other photos will show it.
No, we don't have to do the kitchen like the internal part of the kitchen. There aren't any photos there.
Right, yeah, and it would be pretty bad. I mean, the decoration was sometimes interesting because he did the standard colours and things that he always did, but they're just so old-fashioned, yeah, that you can't work with them. Yeah. So it'd be good to redo it. So we've got, say, this base cabinet here, and you can just do it. So these are like flat pack units. They just will stack up together. So when you load them, make sure you realise that you'll have quite a few different types set up. And so this one's base cabinet double drawers, but you've got a 600 and a 1000. And the one there in the picture is probably the 1000 wide. And then the point that you place is on the wall. So I'm pressing space until it rotates so that my cursor can go up against the wall. And I'll place that to snap into the corner. Well, we've got to, so that's where the stove is, so I might start from down, well, actually, that would be a pantry. Yeah. So, and that's probably a tall cabinet. So, well, I'll come back to this one. I'll go and get a tall cabinet. Oh, I did the base cabinet double door. In casework. Yep. Yep. So I might start over here then, because we'll have a cabinet there. And I'll place another one next to it. And I'll come back and do the rest later, but I'll just show you what that looks like in 3D now. Oops, sorry, on the other side. There it is. Okay, so you can see there, it just gives you a cabinet without a top, which is the way you want it. You don't want the tops, because if you had a top on it, then they'd show as separate benches. And I don't know, you might have even seen a kitchen going in, and this is how they build them. They do the cabinets as separate things, and then the bench just goes across as one piece afterwards. Now, maybe I want to have the wall, so I'll put a wall in. If you're going to keep the pantry, I think the pantry is a nice thing to keep. So you don't have to, but it's nice to have all that storage. So I'll put a wall in for that. And then if you measure that distance that's left, okay, 70 something mil. So it might be better, rather than adjusting the cabinets, maybe it's better to bring the wall to match that size. So they're 1,000 wide, that leaves us 2 metres in between. What would it be if it was any more? We could make it 11. No, I'll just bring the wall back. So I'm just going to align. I think that makes more sense. What does it? Yeah, we'll just do it that way for now. We can always adjust it later. So then to bring in the, if you do want to make it with a wider cabinet, you can always go to Edit Type and change the width of the cabinets in there. But I won't do that. What I'm going to do now is just show you the bench. So if we go back to Load Family and into the same folder, Casework, and then Countertops. So you've got quite a few there to choose from. I'll just choose the simple countertop with the splashback on it. It's just called countertop. And then, just like before, you can press space to rotate it, click to place it up against the wall. And the nice thing about these families is you can select them and you'll get an arrow either end that you can use to stretch them. And I can just stretch that to fit into that space. Okay, so notice it fits in perfectly at the height of the top of the cabinet. Yeah.
If you wanted to add, like, say, spice cabinet, because I can literally go like that whole space between, like,
I just unplugged it, probably.
oh no, I turned it on myself.
Oh yeah, right, yeah.
See how I got that space?
Right. Yeah, you can put. Also, I'm going to get another family. There's plenty of other cabinets.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're all different sizes. Yeah, yep. Okay, so I'll just show you some other.
How is yours so accurate though? Or am I using different colours?
No, I just scaled my drawing differently, I think, a little bit. Yeah. So anyhow, I'll go back to component. So you can adjust it, doesn't matter. But Load Family, and then okay, so that's in the old Casework folder, or the default one. But if we go to our library and then Casework. Here you can see the bathroom cabinets as well if you want those, and then domestic kitchen, and you'll see we've got a few more different cabinet types in there.
Oh, like one door cabinet?
Yep, all sorts of things, and tall ones. So I've got a tall cabinet there, maybe to go in the corner here. So just have a look through the library and you can see then what options you've got. And then again, it's good just to keep an eye on it in 3D and see how it's all fitting together. So there we are. Alright, so I'll let you play around with those, and you can do a lot with the kitchens just from the library. Oh yeah, I'll finish recording in a minute. Is it something else? Yeah. Okay, so the final thing though is the windows. So I might just do a quick view through there so you can see. It's coming together, but definitely want to add in more of those. So then the windows. So the window that you have in that sort of utility space, this one here, should be pretty straightforward. Get rid of it?
Yeah.
Oh, what? Why?
It's not part of Harry Styles' original design.
Yeah, I'd say it is, yeah. That's definitely a feature. That's part of the design. That's structural.
She was so adamant that it wasn't part of his original design because Harry Styles would never do that. Wow. That's why.
To the bath? Well, it's not bathroom.
It's the way he would have had an open plan somewhere.
No, I don't think so. Yeah. Yeah, no. I just don't think it is. I think that would be typical of him actually,
Yeah.
and
Well, I like.
because his whole, I mean, he tied his design into the structure, and I just don't see how you can remove that without totally compromising the structure. So what they're saying, remove the whole bathroom.
Yeah, the brick external wall. But I
Oh, right, so keeping the brick external wall.
like the wall that's between the windows.
I suppose you could, yeah.
Would that be structural
Yeah, it would, because it would cantilever from there. But I'd say you could do it, you just have to put in bigger beams.
I don't mind thinking about it. I'm not going to show them.
Yeah, she said that she would do that.
Yeah, I mean, he was probably one of the first people to do open plan in Australia, but open plan back then didn't mean completely open and minimal, you know, as minimal as things have become, because you have structural requirements. It's just very difficult to build it that way, and then just think about it from a planning point of view. Where else can the bathroom go on that level? You need a bathroom on that level, and that's why I'd be sure it is original, because the bathroom would have been somewhere else if it wasn't there, and I can't see where else it could have possibly gone. So I'd say it is definitely original. And the brickwork there is, I mean, it wouldn't have been brick. If it wasn't an original feature, he wouldn't have put a brick wall there without it being there for a reason. He would have built the structure into the framing, or had it as a solid wall.
Yeah, it's just what she.
Yeah, and look, it's a common assumption that he might have tried to keep things as open as possible, but yeah, I'd say, and also, I mean, the giveaway.
Yeah, I mean, like the bricks kind of match it.
Yeah, that, and then looking at the exterior, if it was an add-on, why would they extend the brick walls down to act as a footing? Because that's what they're doing for the building going into the sandstone. So I think that's your answer. And so removing that, I think, would be a problem. But if you're allowed to do it, you're allowed to do it, and you can just pretend that the engineers are going to do all of the expensive things to make it stand up. You can make anything stand up. It's just, you know, the cost. Okay, but I'm going to put it in because it makes the windows I'm going to show you a little bit easier, apart from anything else. Now, the walls that I've used there are just the existing 230. So I'm going to stick with that wall type. And I didn't check my height there, so that should be going up to, oh that's right, level 1, and we'll just leave that offset in there. So I suppose we can put in the material for this wall. I want to do materials afterwards anyway. And we've done a bit anyway already, so we can keep going with that. So I'm just going to quickly, before I put the windows in, select the wall. Okay, so it's the existing 230 that I've used, and I want to make that brick. So I'm going to go to Edit Type. Just the one I called existing 230. It doesn't really matter if you've used a different kind of wall, because I'm going to change it now anyway. So I'm just going to select that, Edit Type, and duplicate. And I'm going to call it existing face brick 230. So I'm going to go to edit the structure, and all I'm going to do is change the material. So I'm going to click where it's got the finished material, browse, no, you can, as long as you keep that solid wall up against the interior. Then if they're telling you can get rid of it, then yeah. Oh yeah, sure, I'll finish recording, I'll come over in a minute and have a look. Okay, so Okay, so if we go down to the masonry material, you'll see one called masonry brick brown, which is pretty close. But this one's maybe a little bit more orange, light orange. Okay, so you can just right click on the appearance tab, go to replace, then go to the appearance library and go to the masonry folder. So you need to just click on the arrow next to appearance library, go down to masonry, and then
What masonry brick solid cores? Brick brown. The one?
yeah. So
And then appearance is
oops.
which one? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just looking. I think modular brown is the closest. Yeah, modular brown.
So is that under appearance or is that
Yeah, appearance library. Yep. So you need to right click on appearance and then go to replace. Oh no, sorry, not modular brown. Sorry, that's not it.
masonry brick?
No, there are none, unfortunately, that are quite right.
Like yellowy 80s.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty awful stuff, but well, it's yeah, that's it exactly. But he was ahead of his time, and yeah, so. Okay, we'll just choose anything. We'll go for doesn't matter, 12-inch running, whatever. And so just get any brick pattern, and then I'll show you how to change the image. So if you click on the image name under the swatch, you'll see the file name.
What about modular light brown? Take that one?
Yeah, but it's still not right. Yeah. So you need to click on that name. I'll just double click on the one you want. Doesn't matter, double click on anything. Yeah, and then close that.
Brown and red.
Yeah, and then close it. Yeah. Yeah, and then click on the file name under the image, under the pattern. There's a file name.
Where are you?
Yeah.
And then go on to yeah. Are you sure?
Oh, yeah, sure. I'll just be a moment. Let me finish this. Okay, so. There we are. Okay, so that's it. That's the one I'm going to use.
Which one's that one?
Okay, so to get to it, you need to browse. So once you've clicked on that browse button, so the image name here.
With brown.
Oh, so you need to, so back in the material, under the pattern, under the image swatch, you'll see a file name, brick uniform, something like that. Click on that name, and then browse to the P drive up the top. And then go to interior design and material images. in interior design. Oh yeah, and then you should see material images down the bottom. And then brick. And it's just called Brick Running Brown. Oh no, just brick running, sorry, brick running.
When you go into interior design folder, what folder do you go to next?
Material images.
And then brick.
Yep.
And then which one is it?
Brick running, yep. Yep. Now you'll need to change the relief pattern as well. So you need to click on that image name.
Non-metallic.
Below, so expand relief pattern. Just below masonry, below the finish, you'll see relief pattern.
I do not have that. I have reflectivity.
Oh, okay. You've got the wrong material. I'll have to come over and have a look at that in a minute.
Should I just do a different brick? So I've got brick brown.
Yeah, that's where you should start. Yep.
Yeah, I've got that.
Yep.
And then I went to appearances.
Yeah, appearance. Yeah, it shouldn't say metallic.
Should I do replace brick instead of
Yeah. Yep. Yep. So, okay. So there. Anyway, when you get that relief pattern, if you click on the name, then you'll need to find from the same folder. So back onto the P drive, interior design, material images, brick, and there's a file called Brick Running Bump right next to Brick Running.
And then where?
Now,
Brick what? Sorry?
it's just called Brick Running Bump. Yep. Okay, so for both of those, once you've chosen them, you can click OK, and also just click on the swatch if you've got that panel open, and then you need to make the size bigger. They've got to be double the size. So 1800. Oh no, sorry, what am I saying? 1200. Sorry, 1200 high.
Scale.
So click on the image pattern, the swatch, and then so the height there 1200. Yep.
Hi. I've got size X and size Y.
Oh yeah, just close it, just hit done, and then open it again.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
And then I still have it.
Click on the other one. Click on the other image, and it might fix it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Scale. So what was it?
So this
What?
1200. So for both of them, both the bump and the original. Oh, just leave that. So just change the height to 1200.
Width and height?
Just the height 1200. Yeah.
But then that black and white one is still changed.
So it should be 1200 high as well.
I changed the brown one.
Yeah.
So scale it. Oh no, I can do it.
Yeah.
1200.
Yeah. That's it. And that's important because you will have quite a few of these brick walls, and you can select, once you've done it, any other brick wall, any other wall, and then in your type selector, just choose the one you've just made. And so what I'll do is I'll finish there. I'll do another video on the windows because I'll be a bit more involved, but I'll come down and have a look at any problems people have been having. So I'll just change this last wall, and then I'll come around. So there we are. That's starting to look, just like the real thing.